Companion, just kind of giving a overview of this technology, and then also kind of give some ideas of how you can utilize it in your classroom. And then hopefully this will kind of start the conversation too, that we can get together, kind of plan curriculum out, utilizing this tool as a valuable resource for our students. So here, Class Companion, this is kind of the opener page. This is the teacher page where you can see your different classes. You have the option of creating different classes, and then if you've linked your Google Classroom, or if you sign up through your Google email, it'll automatically link your Google Classrooms, and you can actually import created classes from Google Classroom to Class Companion. So then you can post things to Google Classroom, and it'll directly integrate the Class Companion to that interface if you utilize that for pushing out assignments and grades to students. Okay, so I'm actually going to go into my content library. I'm going to show you kind of the creation of a assignment for Class Companion. So here it has some of my past assignments that I've started to draft, and I'm actually going to go into one that I've already created. So here is this assignment specifically is for my AP Chemistry class, and it's to work on their free response question portion of the AP Chemistry exam. It's one of the harder portions of their AP exam, and so I've kind of played around with this Class Companion, and I do think it is a very valuable tool to help give immediate feedback to the students on their free responses for the AP exam. So here it just has kind of the background information the students need to know about the particular question. And then we'll see too that there's different types of questions as well. So like question 1 is a multiple choice, question 2, 3, 4, short answer, so on and so forth. There's also the option of like an essay portion as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go in and edit this assignment just so we can kind of further look at the customization of creating an assignment. So whenever you start a new assignment, it'll kind of take you to this page where it has the assignment where you can change the name, you can select the grades that it's intended to be used for, you can select any standards, and then obviously the subject as well. It is optional to pick a unit and topic just to kind of organize your information in that resource library that we were seeing before. So from there, it starts with an introduction. This is optional. In the case of these AP free response questions, I put kind of the background information that the students need in order to answer the different questions. And then from there, you can add in the questions and then select the correct answers. What I ended up doing, what I found was helpful, especially for like these different data tables and things, was I would actually kind of type out the question, especially with like these subscripts and stuff. I would type out the question like on a Google Doc, and then I would take a screenshot and then upload that as my question. I just found it a bit easier to manipulate in like a Google Doc compared to the interface through Class Companion. It just made it very difficult to get the subscripts in. So just kind of a tip there. But at the bottom, you can see I could continue to add questions. You can add a group. So basically, this is like if you have a multi-step question. So it'll kind of group all of those questions together like as a part A, B, C. You can add a short answer, a multiple choice, or an essay. So when I went in and added in all of these questions, I kind of first went through and did all of the questions first. And then from there, I came over to this tab, and it'll require you to upload a rubric if you have any short answer or essay questions. So I'm going to go ahead and skip this for right now and go to the rubrics. Since I've already created this assignment, it already has a rubric, but I can go in and edit that rubric. This one was actually generated via AI. So when you go in to create a rubric, it gives you the option to generate with AI. You can upload a existing rubric, or you can create from scratch. I just use the AI one. And then what's nice too is I can come in and like if I didn't like one of these categories, like this one, like use of chemical terminology. I could delete that and then it would remove it. Or clarity and organization. I was like, I'm not really grading on grammar or something to that extent. I can actually delete one of those sections. I can give them to be worth more points. And then also they have like some other options with improving the rubric too with AI based on the questions that you have in your assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and just save that to back out. And then notice too here, I don't actually have an essay rubric because there are no essay questions on this particular assignment. Okay, one of the other things over on this sidebar is the AI settings. And on here, it has the different options that you can select in order to tailor the experience for yourself and your students as they work through the assignments. So for this first thing is the AI tutor, and what's kind of nice about this is it is like an instant kind of like chat bot for them to kind of ask questions where they can go through or they can like ask, like, so say there is a graph that they're looking at and they're unsure of what the graph is telling them, they can actually ask the AI tutor and it can kind of bounce ideas off of them just to kind of get them started when they get stumped on a particular question. And of course, this can be turned off too if you don't want students asking the bot to help them. You can also turn that off. There's a bunch of different options here. The AI context is nice as well, so you can actually upload like if you have vocabulary lists or if you have like a particular like if you have chapters of a textbook that give the context of the assignment, you can add it here, and that just helps the AI to better know what they're looking for as they go to give feedback and grade the assessments. Okay, the very last thing over here is the submission settings. Okay, and again, this is to also help tailor the assignment to what you need for your class. So maximum question attempts, this is actually really nice. So for like short answers, they have a maximum attempts of 2. So their first attempt, they'll get immediate feedback, and I'll show you that here in a second. And then once they get that feedback, they actually have the option of editing their response and submitting again. And so I do find that to be such a valuable activity for them because they're instantly making corrections to something that might not have been a very good response. And they're a bit more informed on how to create a better response. And we will see, I am going to show like preview as students so we can kind of go and pretend to be a student taking the assignment. The chatbot does kind of give feedback that, is pretty much the answer. So looking into that, I think what I would do personally, because you could see what they scored on their first attempt and the second attempt, you could kind of average those numbers out in order to kind of give a more cohesive grade of for the assignment. And then for multiple choice, max attempts, but again, you can change these. You can also select if there's a certain question order, like they have to answer a question before they move on to the next. Feedback, so this is kind of the bread and butter, the positive thing about this tool is the feedback. So I'm going to select that it is instant. So basically once the student submits their answer, the chatbot will kind of, it'll like load, it'll think for a little bit while it's grading, and then it'll give an immediate response to them so that they can see, one, their score, but then also how could they have improved that response. But so then there's other options as well for that timing feedback. Okay, there's also some general settings such as hiding the rubrics or scores, setting time limits, shuffling multiple choice questions. Be careful with this if you, or the answers, the multiple choice answers. Be careful with this if you do take like a screenshot and have your answers be like A, B, C, D, because then it'll just rearrange those and it looks a little funny. And disable pasting. I know that this is a premium option, but still something really interesting that they have built into this technology. Um, there's also accommodations that your students can have, and then also response integrity. Some of these are premium, but detect pasting I know is not. So it'll basically warn you or flag you if the student had pasted a response into a free response or a short answer essay. But this one I do believe is a premium, but very interesting. It can actually detect copying and leaving. So, our students who will just copy an answer, go throw it in Google, and then paste whatever Google regurgitates. It'll kind of help let us know that those students are doing that so that we can address that issue. Okay, so going back to the assignment, we're actually going to go ahead and preview it as a student. I just want to show you kind of in real time what it looks like for the student to be completing this assignment. We're just going to go through a few questions. So for this first one, determining the net ionic reaction, I'm just going to pick a random answer and submit. So it does tell me right away that I got the answer wrong, and then it also explains why this is not the correct answer. So this is really great feedback, especially for my kids who are studying for their AP exam. Getting that instant feedback, then they know going on to the next steps, okay, well, if this is the correct answer, then this is going to influence the rest of my answers throughout this assignment. But then also, too, they're learning as they go and working through these different questions. So for question 2, I actually have a response that we're going to type in. Okay, so it just states the net ionic equation just shows the ions involved in forming the precipitate. So answering the question. And so what's nice is it's kind of going through that rubric and grading the student based on their response. And then it'll give kind of a score for each of them and then why they didn't get full points for each of the things. So for the question score, they got a 4 out of 10 from based on that rubric. And it lets me know what things I do well and then what things I need to include. So it says your response mentions that the net ionic equation shows the ions involved in forming the precipitate, which is a good start. However, it doesn't fully address why the net ionic equation is the best representation of the reaction. It should also mention that it excludes spectator ions, which do not participate in the formation of the precipitate. Okay, for example, you could explain that the net ion equation highlights only the reacting species, making it clearer and more focused on the actual chemical change. Okay, and then it also goes on for each of the different choices as well and just gives them more feedback on what they need to do. So, and then you'll notice over here, it gives me a second box where I can go in and edit my initial response. So for my initial response, I got a 4 out of 10. I then have a second response that we're going to go ahead and put in and see how we do. If it's better, I did end up including that it's leaving out the non-reacting spectator ions, so we'll see if it gives us a better grade. And so I didn't get full points, but I did improve my score to a 7 out of 10. So again, it does go through and just let me know what things I might have left out in terms of my explanation. Okay, one other thing to note is that as a teacher, you can go into each of the responses too and override a score as well. So if a student has done their second attempt and they're still not happy with their score and they think that they've met all their criteria, one nice thing that they can do is they can discuss with us, and kind of plead their case as to why they should receive full points. So one, it's promoting their self-advocacy, but then also their reasoning skills and how they can support their argument in order to gain more points. Okay, I'm going to do one more. This is about explaining the purpose of drying and weighing filter paper with the precipitate 3 separate times. So for this one, the response is going to be pretty far off. It is a sound reasoning, so I said weighing the filter paper 3 times gathers more data points to get a more accurate average mass, which generally we do take different measurements in order to do that. So it is sound judgment, but it's not really the purpose of why we're needing to dry and weigh the filter paper multiple times. So it just explains that to us as far as our justification. Um, your explanation is limited and doesn't fully address the reason for repeated drying and weighing processes. It's important to explain that the purpose is to ensure the removal of all water, which affects the mass measurement. For example, you can mention that the repeated drying ensures the mass measured is only that of the precipitate and filter paper, not water. Okay, so that kind of gives me a very directed approach to fixing my response. So then for my response, I change up my answer. And I ended up getting a 10 out of 10. Okay, and again, too, if they do get full points, it still gives them feedback for each of the little sections of your rubric. And then, too, I do believe, let me go ahead and exit as a student. I do believe that under these AI settings, you can give custom instructions, like basically telling the AI tutor, like whenever they give feedback, to not give explicit answers to them, but just to give them helpful hints on receiving full points. So it is completely customizable and something that I think you kind of have to play around with in order to get a full um, idea of the possibilities for this. So hopefully this tutorial just kind of gave you some ideas and helpful tricks that could be utilized in your class, and just in order to give our kids that instant feedback that I think they really desperately need, and really help improve our students' ability to give proper answers that aren't just accurate but also well thought out and articulated.